Thank you very much for everybody. My name is Kwame Baptiste, your Professional Executive Board Parliamentarian, a National Parliament Professionals Parliamentarian. Thank you for your patience in the start of this process. And of course, we are going to try to keep everything to time. So I do ask everybody to be concise when asking questions and be clear and concise when communicating either via voice or through the chat. We ask everybody to remain respectful and everybody to remain patient and diligent while we go through this process. We will be taking questions through the chat. So we will be using a speakers list process to ask questions through the chat. So we do ask everyone to type in those questions in there quickly. And after the first 5 minutes of that time, we will be closing the speakers list. So we do ask everybody to ask their questions quickly. All right. Secondly, like I said before, please make sure all your delegates check in. Make sure the email address or the delegates that were assigned to the chapters check in using the form and making sure that the specific delegate is able to use the form successfully. Um, is somebody off mute? Hello? Could you mute yourselves, please? Hello? Thank you. All right. Now, like I said before, we'll be using the chat specifically because the number of people on the call will be using the chat to ask questions. So please ask everybody to mute yourselves. For those of you who are talking on using your phones and you've dialed into the meeting, I will give an opportunity during each Q&A session to ask questions during that time, and specifically for those who are on the phone. During the Q&A process, the delegates will have the priority to ask questions, and we'll make sure we get through this process quickly. All right. This is our agenda for this evening. We'll try to keep it concise. And the first part will be primarily for information for those who are unaware of what the process will be. And today, like I said before, we'll be only covering 3 of the 4 candidates for elected office. And for those who are unaware, we'll cover that in the information session. First of all, like I said before, only active chapters can vote for the PEB elected candidates. Each chapter appoints delegates to vote on their behalf, and the delegates must be professional paid members. The delegates vote on behalf of their chapter, so delegates, please make sure you defer to your chapter officers and your chapter membership in order to determine how to vote. Make sure you're not doing it on your own, but you're voting on behalf of your chapter. So we'll be giving a window of time to vote. So make sure you have the time to do so. Each chapter should have 2 delegates, and each chapter will be allowed to vote twice. So making sure that you have 1 vote per delegate. If you only have 1 assigned delegate by the past deadline, you will be allowed to vote twice. All right. All right. For those who don't know, we do have elected and appointed positions. However, this call will focus on the candidates for elected office. We do have a number of 1-year and 2-year terms, and our board is actually split into even and odd years in terms of the window for appointments. Some positions are elected or appointed every year. Some positions are actually elected in the even year, and some are in the odd year. For example, this is 2021. This will count as an odd year. And we're making sure that only the candidates who are eligible for election for those odd year, those positions are up for election. Those positions are vacant for the following year, then they may be appointed via appointment. All right. So annually, we elect our chair-elect, and then the following year, that chair-elect person will become the chair and then subsequently become the chair emeritus. Our treasurer-elect is elected every year, and the following year, the treasurer-elect will become the treasurer. And of course, each of the 6 regional professional chair-elects is elected by each of the regions, and then they'll become the respective chairs of the regions the following year. All right. Then in the even year, or last year as well as next year, 2022, these are the positions that'll be up for election, for those who don't know. And for this year, These are the positions that are up for election this year. Unfortunately, not all the positions have current candidates. For appointed positions, these are the appointed positions that we do have. Our SIG directors this year will be using a ratification system. So each of the SIGs will be holding an election or with the individual SIG directors, and they'll be elected by the members of each of the SIGs. Their applications are currently open. All right. So review. There is a special process for appointing the TPC chair for the respective conference locations, as well as for the professional development conference chair position. Those are special appointment process as well as the parliamentarian. All right. Our available positions. We currently have candidates for the professional chair elect position. We have Arthur Edge. His Q&A will take place tomorrow from 8:30. And today we'll be only looking at the following three candidates. For programs chair, we have Russell Martez. Membership chair, we have Nick Tarver. And publicist, we have Shari Briggs. Current positions that are elected that are missing are the treasurer elect as well as the finance chair. And we do have the appointed position candidate applications are still open as well. If you're interested in serving one of these positions, please fill out the PEB application form. They are open. All right. Down to business. All right. Like I said before, the Q&A structure, each candidate will have an introduction period of 1 to 2 minutes. This year we're using a video for introduction, so that should actually be pretty cute. Making sure that we are concise in our timing. The Q&A period is 15 minutes per candidate. We will be timing each of the periods. At the 10-minute mark, the Q&A timing, after the first 5 minutes or the 10-minute mark, we'll be closing the speakers list. So only those questions that were asked by that point will be asked. Like I said before, only those delegates' questions will be able to be asked first. And then anyone else questions should be able to go afterwards. And like I said, we'll be using a full 50-minute period. There is no multi-part questions. If you have a comment or question, or there's no multi-part questions either, we want to make sure each person gets a chance to ask one question. Please be concise in your questions to allow for time. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. All right. All right, is everybody ready to begin the Q&A? All right. We are following a different order, so we'll be going with our publicist first, Ms. Shari Briggs. Shari, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Those who have questions for Shari, please start typing your questions into the chat box. I'll begin her video now.
Greetings, NSBE. I am Shari Briggs, your current Region 4 Professionals Chairperson, and I am vying to be your 2021 to 2023 Professionals Executive Board Publicist. My platform is Communication is Key, K-E-Y. K meaning keep the communication consistent, E meaning the execution of processes, and then Y meaning yielding results. As far as my background, prior to being chair-elect and then chair, I was also the Region 4 Professional Secretary for 2 years, where I was able to implement things like our MailChimp account, as well as our newsletters that we currently have coming out on a monthly basis. So in this professionals publicist role, I would like to continue to do those things at a national level, and then also bring my expertise to continue to push forward some of the initiatives that have already been put in place on the Professionals Executive Board for the Communication Zone. So I invite you to ask me any questions that you may have about my background, as well as some of my initiatives that I would like to put in place. But again, I am Shari Briggs, and I am vying to be your 2021 to 2023 Professionals Executive Board Publicist. Thank you.
All right.
Greetings, NSBE.
All right, sorry about that. All right, this is our platform slide. Please take a moment. All right, please ask your questions. Delegates, you are asking your questions first. All right, you can ask your question directly. All right, we have one question from a delegate. What is your vision for the upcoming year, Shari?
So my vision for the upcoming, I guess you can say 2 years, is to really make sure that we are maintaining consistent communication. And that's because consistency, like I said, is key and communication is key. So my vision will be to continue a lot of the things that have been put in place by the comm zone, as well as, be more proactive as we're getting to some of the activities and events that are happening along with the chapters, as well as the regions and the SIGs, as well as the PEB. So that's more so kind of high level my platform and my vision for the year.
All right, thank you very much. All right, the floor is still open for questions. Do we have any delegate questions? All right, we have one from USPTO. What is your goal for increasing newsletter reach and engagement?
So increasing newsletter reach, one is understanding what the current reach is. So knowing what increasing means, and then figuring out if that platform works. So I know right now we use Microsoft Sway, and then that is sent out through MailChimp. So one of the things that I know that the ComZone is currently doing is using MailChimp, and then potentially going through and scrubbing the list of people that are on there, and figuring out who is actually active NSBE professional members, and getting those members engaged. So any way that we can make it any more interactive, definitely do that. But I think, like I said, using the MailChimp as well as Microsoft Sway have been well received. And so just making sure that we continue to utilize those tools in the best ways possible, and making those things any more interactive that we can.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we have another delegate question. All right, can you expound upon the new technologies that you plan to explore for improving communications throughout the society?
Yes. So one of the things that we could definitely start looking at is utilizing more of the things that we have, but some of the things that we can do that are new is if we think about using link trees, any other things that we can do with the Instagram, Facebooks, making sure that our IG pages have our business pages, and utilizing those. So that's some of the kind of new ways to use old technology. And then new technology is, if there's a new way we can do flyers, if there's a new way we can implement some of the things that are happening now. So interactive flyers I see are pretty cool. Like when you get on Instagram and it's like they're flying everywhere, it's like, oh, and it grabs your eye. So making sure that we do some of those things, that we can revamp some of the old stuff and implement some new things as well.
All right, thank you. One more question from a delegate. Can the candidate expound upon fine-tune current submission process, and where had the previous submission process failed? And before you answer that question, we have 1 minute left before the speakers list is closed. So if you have any additional questions, please ask them now in the chat, and I'll open up the floor for phone people in a few seconds. Again, let me ask the question again. Can the candidate expand on fine-tune the current submission process, and where has the current system failed?
Yes, so what I mean by fine tune the current submission process is, so right now the communication zone, so the secretary and the current publicist have a process where people who want to submit things for flyer creation or posting on the on our external channels, so they have a process where you can go on the link and fill out all of the information that you would like for the flyer to say, how you would like it to show up on social media, XYZ. So for me, fine tuning that process is, figuring out where there may be gaps in it, and then making sure that we as a comm zone can eliminate the point where we're getting last minute requests, if at all possible, because I know sometimes things come up and we all do that very on the fly. But try to eliminate that as much as possible, so it's not a point where we're staying up till 2-3 o'clock trying to do things last minute. So we can kind of just make sure that we're working like a well-oiled machine continuously. And what was the second part of that question, Kwame?
And where has the current system failed?
So where the current system has failed, I don't think it has failed. I think it's just more of the fact that we, again, make sure that we can not have it where it's an unknown process. So not sending things through emails, like we want everyone to know there is a link where we use this process to filter out all of the requests that we get. And so that helps us become more organized and be more efficient in how we're handling things. So I don't think it's failed, but it's more of a communication of the process and making sure that everyone knows what the process is and tries to operate within that process.
All right, Shari, I do apologize. That was a multi-part question. I should not have asked that.
No problem.
Moving forward, the speakers list is now closed. We're only asking the questions we have currently. We have a question from a member, just to help mix it up a little bit. Do you have an idea for expanding NSBE professionals to external audiences outside of NSBE?
Yes, so some of the things that we can do is definitely expanding using some of our MOUs. So some of the organizations that we already partner with, if we partner with those organizations more, and then also put our NSBE brand on those organizations, if we do flyers and things like that, I think that's a great way to extend our the NSBE Professionals brand outside of where we currently are. Because a lot of times also the thing is some of those organizations have past NSBE members in them that may have dropped off after they graduated. So I think probably a lot of us have encountered people who be like, oh, I didn't know NSBE existed outside of me graduating, because there may not have been a professional chapter when they in the city where their college was. So if we let people know, like, hey, there's a NSBE Professionals arm of the organization, for, like I said, in those organizations where we already have those MOUs, then we can definitely start expanding that brand and hopefully extending the olive branch to start to also reclaim some of those members that we may have lost in the NSBE, in the transition from collegiate to professionals.
Okay, one more question, Delegate. Do you think our current communications provide a good mechanism for increasing and retaining membership?
Could you repeat that question one more time?
Sure. Do you think our current communications provide a good mechanism for increasing and retaining membership?
I would say yes, and yes and no. So one way, increasing and retaining. So we would only have the current methods would reach those people, like I said, who know that we are NSBE professionals that have either been, that are either currently active or have probably been active in the past. So continuously hitting those people is a way to increase and also retention. But again, another way to increase is reaching outside of those bounds of the people who have been already in contact with NSBE professionals in the past, like I said, or currently. So, so yes, they are effective because again, the more that you reach out to the people who may not be active currently, then you can definitely get them back active, and then also reaching out externally.
All right, thank you. All right. What have you accomplished in this space that you are most proud of?
So I think what I am most proud of currently to date in the, if we're talking about communication zone, there are two things kind of, I think that I would say I'm most proud of. One of them being in the collegiate space, when I was regional secretary for Region 3 as a collegiate, one of the biggest things that we were trying to do was to have our FRC be the largest FRC, you know, in history of Region 3. And we actually did that with, I believe, over like 1,000 registrants that particular year. And I think that was largely in part to the communications plan that I put in place with my zone members to make sure that we did meet that goal. And so collegiate wise, that's one of the proudest things. And then since I've been on professionals as Region 4 professional secretary, we did implement, like I said, that regional newsletter, got our Instagram up and running. And then also just being more consistent with our communications, using MailChimp and doing lots of different things to try to reach out to our membership and just being more proactive with them. So I think those two things would be the things that I'm most proud of in this space.
All right. Do we have any delegates on the phone? If you'd like to ask a question, you have any delegates on the phone? We can ask to take a question from the phone. We have two more questions in the chat, but I want to give opportunity for those who dialed in. If you're talking, you're on mute. Okay, all right.
Does that include other board members? Can we also ask a question?
Well, we have two more delegate questions left. I wanted to see if there's any delegates on the phone.
Awesome.
Yeah, but we have limited time too, so I'm gonna try to cut through these two. Okay, how will your platform help with the NSBE 2025 plan?
Okay, so the NSBE 2025 goal, so it's ready, set, go, brand, grow. In this particular role, and I will be part of the branding portion as well as, of course, the go portion, which is the professionals arm. So for go, it is about making sure that the professionals have a brand to uphold and that we do that. And so making sure that our brand gets out there with the professionals that we currently have. And then of course, branding, extending our brand beyond our current membership and reaching out to those who we want to reclaim or want to bring into the NSBE fold. So my platform would essentially touch those two pieces. So again, the go portion of professionals, as well as the brand portion that will extend beyond what we do in the professionals, but also outside of.
All right, thank you. And last delegate question, how do you plan to disseminate best practices to different chapters?
So one of the things that we have also implemented, and we hopefully plan to get that up and running, is the chapter officer training. So I know we've done this regionally, specifically in Region 4. Like I said, as I'm coming off of Region 4 chair, where we take a week and we go through each zone and provide training to all of the zones and everyone, and then it's recorded, and then we put it out to say, hey, if you missed it, here is some training as well as best practices. So I think we can implement that nationally. And by doing that, we can definitely make sure that chapter websites are up to date, that everyone knows how to use Sway, or if they want to use Sway, doing free MailChimp accounts. I'm a big fan of free stuff. That's everything I did, is using things in a way that it can be free. Because, MailChimp has things you can do for free, as well as a lot of other platforms. So making sure that everyone knows how they can do things for free, getting them Google email addresses and things like that. So I think that is something we can give with if it is something that we do regionally, then pass that down to the regional secretaries and the regional comm zones, and making sure that as they do their own chapter, officer training, that they have those resources that they would need in order to conduct that properly.
All right, we have 10 seconds left. Do we have a PEB member who'd like to ask a question quickly?
Sure, Kwame. Camila here. I'd love to ask a question to Shari. So Shari, when we look at the, I guess the current comm zone, what are 2 areas of improvement that you think is needed in terms of publicizing items from our corporate partners? And just a quick statement is that we've seen an uptick in requests for corporate partners to be able to buy media partnerships. So what are some areas of opportunity for us to really realize that opportunity?
So I guess the question, we're wanting to market to our membership with the corporate partners?
Yes.
Okay. So I think one thing to definitely implement, and I know there's something that being a BCA partner, I am the BCA rep for my company as well. So there is a portion of the, let's say like the BCA partnership packet with convention, where we can add on marketing things. So we can have social media posts that we pay for, or paying for marquee messages to go out. So I think if we add that to our corporate partnership packet as to professionals, where we can say, hey, if you want to place an ad in our newsletter, it'll be this amount of money. So that's definitely something we can do. So that's one way we can do that, is take that model from being a BCA and using it for us as professionals. And another way,
It's okay, you can be concise.
okay. Well, yeah, like I said, I would say one way for sure would be to take that corporate partnership packet model and adding marketing material in that. And then we can figure out, which ways the companies would like to see their themselves marketed to the professionals.
Sure.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Briggs. You do have 1 minute to close out. If you'd like any final words, please do so now. 1 minute.
All right, well, I just wanted to say thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you all, answer questions. Thank you for your questions. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm open for questions. And then if there's any other suggestions that you have, please feel free to reach out to me. And I look forward to seeing how you all vote, and hopefully you vote for me. And I'd be pleasured and honored to be your 2021 to 2023 publicist. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time. Thank you everyone for their questions. We'll be moving on to the next candidates. Russell, are you available? Please take yourself off mute. Russell, are you there?
Good evening.
All right, thank you for joining the call. We're moving on to Russell Marzette Jr., candidate for National Professionals Programs Chair. And this is his introduction. Did my computer freeze? Well, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty here. Oh boy. Hold on for a second. Excuse me, Townsend, could you bring up the presentation real quick? I think I have my computer just froze. There we go. Yeah, just pinging my performance. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep, we can hear you fine.
Let me see if I share my content. If you'll give me 2 minutes, I can share the screen out.
Are we still active?
Yes, we're having technical difficulties. Just hang with us for just a moment.
Oh, no, just wanted to make sure we didn't lose when Kwame left. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Russell Marzette, and I'm your candidate for National Professionals Programs Chair. One of my biggest pain points as a local chairperson was an inability to see my chapter in the national programming landscape. National directives seem to always be changing. It wasn't clear how it would connect into regional or national programming. And it wasn't clear how I would partner to bring resources into my chapter to help support my members. Now, one of the things that's changed in just about over a month here is that we have launched Game Change 2025. And why that is important is because I can tell you, as someone who has served as a volunteer member and an appointed member of the Strategic Planning Task Force, that it is the most inclusive strategic plan this organization has ever had. And that is important because we can see ourselves now in every element of that plan, from pre-college to professional. And that affords us an awesome opportunity to implement a sustainable and cohesive professionals programming product, a product in which we understand what is being done by whom and how it aligns across all of our organization's programming. And if we can create that cohesive, sustainable product, then we can better market it, we can better finance it, we can better assess it. If we can better assess it, we can understand where to enhance it, where there are gaps, and ultimately we can iterate on that product to feed it back to our members, to feed it back to our local chapters so that they can be served. And that is my platform. Implement Game Change 2025. Create a cohesive professionals product that we have a clear view of, and work with the other zone leads to ensure that we're leveraging that product the best that we can on behalf of our members and chapters. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Russell, for your submission. Did everybody hear me?
Hi.
All right, now we're going to open the floor for a Q&A. Please put your questions, everyone, delegates, board members, and attendees. Please put your questions in the queue in the chat box. I will make some time for those who are on the phone to ask questions as well. When we get to the 10-minute mark, we will be closing the speakers list and only asking those questions that have already been submitted. So please put your questions in the chat box now, and we'll open the floor for questions. The timing is 15 minutes. Please submit your questions. All right, the questions are coming in. Let's start the timer. Okay, first question. Can you be specific on how you will incorporate Game Change?
Absolutely. So Game Change 2025, as I said in the intro there, allows us to see ourselves in every element of the plan. And so one of the ways to incorporate Game Change 2025 is already underway. I've spent the last year working knee-deep in our special interest groups. And our special interest groups are slowly building the capacity to be able to have impact throughout our demographics. So pre-college, collegiate, and professional. One of the ways that can help us is that we'll ultimately provide tools for our chapters to leverage and leverage in all the spaces that I just mentioned. And so I will say that.
All right, thank you very much. Second delegate question, describe the cohesive programs and your implementation plan for them.
Sure. So that's a challenging one. So when you look at, and let me actually take a step back and say this, my vision is to be able to see all of our programs on an 11x17 and know that we are actually having an impact. So when you look at our programs, you have our functional groups, local, regional, national, our special interest groups, you have our lanes in terms of our programs, technical excellence, professional development, leadership. You have the national lanes that are present as well. And so the key from an implementation standpoint is to know where all our programs fall and know what that matrix of programming looks like. When we can look at that entire picture and know where we're having impact, then we can leverage that.
All right, I got another delegate question here. Describe the cohesive programs. No, I'm sorry, I asked that question already. What programs are you planning to implement for individual professional chapters to help them strengthen the pipeline from elementary school level NSBE to professionals chapters?
Interesting. So None at the moment that I have in mind specifically for the elementary demographic, in part because when we think about 3rd through 5th grade, that implementation portion of the strategic plan is actually further out. And also in the next demographic level up from there, that's not a space that I have enough bench depth in to recommend or suggest a program at this point in time. One of the areas which I'm going to focus on is high school and junior high. That is an area where we are explicitly called to tasks in the near term as professionals to impact. And one of the things I'd like to see us there is deploy the special interest groups in collaboration with the chapters to bring local programs to the chapters area. So for example, leveraging MOUs that the SIGs have taken on to have impact in that specific area.
All right, we have a minute 45, minute 40 to ask any more questions before the speakers list is closed. Please put your questions in the chat. We have one question for a non-delegate. How will you use your current special projects role to inform you how you will lead the program zone?
So one of the things that I've learned from this role is that we have, and we've always been this way, we have a team of really high performing, dedicated, devoted leaders. One of the things that I did not do a good job of in retrospect was really hitting the ground running and having what I would say are the one-on-one meetings that were necessary to really understand where people were, where they were with the organization's programs, and really understand how they were thinking in terms of moving us forward. Because we have a lot of smart people in this organization, a lot of people who are, again, devoted to serving this organization. And the key is for us to collaborate and to leverage each other with the mission in mind, and with our both professional and national vision in mind.
All right. Two. Okay. Well, we have another delegate question. What are your 3 favorite programs? And the speakers list is now closed.
My 3 favorite programs. Let's see if I can get to 3 in a minute here. So one program that I haven't had the opportunity to work with in some time, but that came, I guess, really from my own collegiate days was TMAL. I had a small collegiate chapter, and I don't know that we called it TMAL, but it was indeed TMAL, and it was something that I enjoyed doing as I was a professional. Another program, and I do call it a program, is the Edward E. Barnett Jr. Scholarship, the Impact Scholarship. That is something that I helped create collaboratively, working across zones as treasurer, but closely with the then national programs, professionals programs chair. I'm very proud of that program, and I'm happy that we've carried it forward and endowed that scholarship. Third one. I don't know that I would call it a program, but I am very partial to the Professional Development Conference. It has saved my career at least once with some of the conversations I was able to have at a professional development conference that really helped me think through a really difficult situation I was going through at that time at work on a really difficult technical project. And so that's what I would say.
All right. As society begins to transition back to in-person, how do you foresee traditional staple NSBE programs like AWFE or NSBE Junior adapting moving forward after more than a year full of virtual?
Can you clarify which programs? I didn't hear that.
Staples. There were examples that were given, like AWFE or NSBE Junior programming. How do you see them adapting moving forward after a year of virtual?
Whew. So I think when you think about AWFE or our NSBE junior programs, I think so, and this is what we're dealing with in the university environment. So there are some opportunities to engage virtually and engage virtually in a way that helps spread the impact and influence of our programs. And so I think it is incumbent upon us to think about how we can add perhaps those virtual components to those staple programs, reach more NSBE junior students, reach more people virtually through a virtual walk for education for those who can't attend the in-person walk for education. Lord willing, I hope that we'll see here shortly us able to engage more traditionally, I think like many of us. But I think it's really about lessons learned from what we've gone through and leveraging that to drive more impactful programs.
All right. See if we have any more delegate questions. I think that's all the delegate questions. We have additional questions from attendees. Discuss your vision for the management and support of the SIGs, also considering the vacancy of a TechX chair.
Sure. So in the short term, I would like us to bring on a TechX chair to help support in the zone and help manage technical excellence. In the long term, we have some serious considerations some serious things to consider. The special interest groups are growing, and they need the support, the structure, the autonomy to run effectively. So there are a number of ideas there. I'll throw them out because it's really time for us to start getting active feedback on it. We've tossed around creating a board of directors, councils is a term I like to use, that empowers the SIGs to operate as a collective. We've talked about them doing that underneath the PEB and them doing that as a separate entity. Those are serious discussions that have to occur for them to be able to drive forward with their mission. And so that's an inclusive conversation. That's an inclusive conversation that has to occur. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. How would you measure the impact of cohesive programs?
Great question. Assessment is not one of the things that I consider to be a strong suit. And so how we're going to measure that specifically, I can only speak in general terms, but I'll do it along two lanes. I think one lane that we need to assess along is what are we learning as we're deploying these programs that shows that we have a certain bench depth in terms of our expertise. Again, not sure what that assessment looks like. I just think that in terms of us, and this connects to the strategic plan in terms of us growing and producing our own products and our own competencies. And then, of course, on the other side, the more common side, are these programs effective? Are our members actually benefiting as professionals, as technical professionals, as leaders? And so along those three lanes from our programming. So obviously, not obviously, but part of that is deploying deploying surveys and deploying them into the right places. We're already doing that through the Technical Professionals Conference. We're already setting up to do that from a national level relative to the strategic plan and getting our metrics lined out. I think one of the key things for us to do after leveraging the metrics that eventually come out of the strategic plan or associated with the strategic plan is to really develop our own clear metrics.
Thank you. Because the speakers list is closed, we won't be taking more questions from the general body. Is anybody on the phone who have any questions? Any delegates or attendees on the phone would like to ask a question? Okay. Any PEB members on the line? On the PEB members who are on the line would like to ask a question? We have 3 minutes left.
Yes, I do. This is Johnny Tangle, National Finance Chair. My question to Russell is, knowing that you've spent this last year working with the programs, with the special interest groups, and having conversations on the finance side, how do you best plan to align what companies are looking for in programming along with what the SIGs as well as the professionals programming is aligned? Do you understand the question?
Sure. So what I think I'll say what I think I understand rather than saying sure. So I think one of the challenges that you're articulating is our ability to balance corporate interest with our own mission driven interests. And so that if we're coming from a finance standpoint, there's a reason why we're trying to increase our giving, because being tied to those interests is not always the best thing for our programming. That being said, again, tying back to something I said before, trying to develop our own business intelligence in terms of what our members need to be successful as technical leaders, as professionals and leaders within organizations, and being able to sell that competency back to our companies that, hey, this is what we are actually doing through our programming. That is why you should invest in us. I think that is one of the ways that long-term we align with what our corporate partners need. And that's just in addition to really bundling our programming well, so that we can market it and sell it to them.
All right. We have two more questions left from a board member, one from another delegate. How will you mentor and inspire your zone to excel?
So I would say one of my strongest suits when I choose to listen it, to use it, is to listen. To listen and position things in alignment with the mission. That is where I hope I lead from. When you there's a reason why we put the mission first. When you lead from the mission and you articulate things from a standpoint of what we're trying to accomplish, things go better. And that's what the mission inspires me. And I'll share this. There's nothing more powerful for me than when all three demographics are in the same room at the same time, plugging on all cylinders. And when you look at the program zone, it touches all the demographics. And I want the zone to fire on all cylinders. And I want to see us impacting all three demographics along all the important programmatic lanes. And so mission, vision, listening, and seeing where my zone members' passions lie, where they want to see, where their dreams relative to the organization, where they want those dreams to take them as they move through the organization and work and serve.
We have one last delegate question. How will you leverage your experience as a past treasurer to fund your programs team? And please remain concise, as we do have another candidate to go.
Sure. I think the main thing I'd leverage as treasurer, or as someone who was treasurer, is that there are a lot of different funding sources out there to back our programming. It's not all about corporate sponsorship. There are grants out there. There are foundations out there. There are our own members out there. And we need to consider what the right funding sources are for our programming, but we also need to package our programming in a way that allows us to leverage different funding sources. And so that's where I would leverage my experience as treasurer. It's not just corporate sponsorship that's out there to fund our programming. And even within corporate sponsorships, there's different buckets to pull from.
All right, thank you very much. You have a 1 minute wrap up to close out your Q&A to represent your platform. Please, you have 1 minute.
This is an exciting time. We're at the beginning of an amazing cycle right now to come in at the launch of our new strategic plan. Some number of years ago, and I think it's been almost 10 years ago, we became the NSBE professionals after having been the alumni extension. And, there's no name change on the table right now or anything like that, but Game Change 2025 is truly, I think, game changing in the way that it represents us and gives us a chance to represent ourselves within the organization. So I'm excited. I hope that you choose me to represent you as programs chair, and get a chance to implement the plan and to continue serving. So thank you for your questions and your consideration.
All right, thank you, Russell. Thank you all those for your questions. We move on to our last candidate for the evening, Nicholas Tarver. He's applying for NSBE Professional Membership Chair. Nicholas, are you on the line? Please unmute yourself.
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, we are going to start the video shortly. Everybody prepare to put your questions in the chat again. At the 10-minute mark, we will close the speakers list. So please put your questions in the chat as soon as possible. And then we'll also make some time available for those who are on the phone. When we do call on you, please remember to unmute yourself to ask your question. Thank you very much. Nicholas, here's your video.
Greetings, NSBE fan. I'm Nick Tarver. I am from Region 2 DC Professionals Chapter. I'm currently the Region 2 Professionals Talent Development Chair. I've been an officer in NSBE since my college years at Alabama A&M University. And I'm currently seeking their support in becoming the next PEB membership chair for the 2021-2023 term. My platform is simple yet important, and it's basically focused on the members. And there are two ways I want to do this. First way is to develop a membership value proposition, MVP. Our members are our MVPs. Without members, you don't have an organization. So I truly want to understand what's important to the members, what's important to the chapters, and see how we can effectively provide those resources. The second thing I want to focus on is seamless membership experience. I want to make it easy for members to get full benefits from this organization. So if we can have one platform where they can join their local chapter and become a member of the national organization, I think that would benefit the members and the chapter as well. One platform where they can have access to training content, certifications, pay dues in one place that covers local and national. It's really make it easy for the members. They shouldn't have to go all over the place trying to get this stuff. So these are just a couple of things that I want to put in place during this time. And I look forward to your support. Thank you.
All right. Like I said, the time for asking questions is now. The speakers list is now open. The candidate is here to answer your questions. Please put your questions in the chat right now. The timer has started. All right, first question. How would you handle chapters that folded or have no representation?
Sure, good question. And if he's referring to chapters that have gone dormant, we've tried to reach out to chapters that have been inactive in the past, and I've dealt with chapters that had one member and put together a chapter recovery plan to help them re-engage members who have lost touch with the organization. Also try to create partnerships with external organizations and ERPs at their companies to increase membership for those chapters. Oh, thanks for that, Bobby.
All right, next question. What is your plan for engaging collegiate students before their graduation to get them to join either the local professional chapter or professionals that in the location where they will start work again.
Yeah, one thing. Oh, thanks. Good question. One thing I've encouraged chapters to do in the past is to engage early with the graduating seniors, and to work with the membership chairs to provide that information so they know who's graduating, where they're going. Are they going to stay local to the area, or if they're going to another region, and we can share that information across the region so the chapters can engage. And I tell them, you got to scoop them up fast. As soon as they graduate, you got to get them involved, get them engaged at the professional level. And by engaging with them soon and providing that mentorship, they know who you are, they trust you, and they'll eventually become active in the professional chapter.
Next question. Do you intend to include volunteer partnerships with different NSBE chapters?
Volunteer partnerships. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Grace, could you clarify? All right. Volunteer events. Yeah. Yeah, volunteer events to partner with different NSBE chapters.
Include volunteer events to partner with different. Yeah, I'm still a little fuzzy on the question, but I think engaging all the chapters is important. The membership chair can't do it on his own. It takes the whole village to ensure the sustainment of the organization.
All right. Now, next question. How do you plan to engage and support graduate students?
Like I stated before, having the chapters engage with the graduating seniors early and providing mentorship programs, also networking events where they can talk to other professionals, possibly get internships with some of our partner companies, making sure that they see the importance of a professional membership, because students typically get into NSBE for one reason, to get a job. And they think after they got in that job, their NSBE career is over. They don't understand that once you've gotten that job, this foundation and this NSBE support system is more important than ever as a professional. So making sure they understand that and staying in touch with them is how I plan to engage.
So for further clarification, they're referring to graduate students or post-bachelorate, such as PhD and master's students.
Okay, gotcha. Right. So graduate students, they're in that gray area where they're still professionals and they're students as well. And it's hard finding a home. Like, am I a collegiate or am I a professional? I would consider them a professional because they're still working in professional academia. So I think they warrant the same support as a professional and the same tools and resources that we provide to our members.
Okay, I don't see any more delegate questions. Okay, well, I got one early one. Okay, what is your customer service improvement plan to revamp membership relations?
Well, going back to my platform, we really got to understand what's important to the members. And we do this in NSBE for years. We take surveys, we get data. We just got to ask the right questions. And I want full transparency for people who have disconnected from the organization. I want to know why. For chapters who aren't as engaged nationally, I want to know why. What can we do to improve that?
All right. Speakers list is now closed. Before we go to the PEB, does anybody on the phones have a question? Does anybody who's dialed in have a question? You can unmute yourself and ask the question now. Please recognize it. Please say your name.
I think Eric had a question here. You may have skipped it.
Yeah, that's the one that we get to the PEB section.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you. All right, no one's on the phone. Okay. Hello, is that someone?
Yeah, I would say probably, is that open for like our PEB to ask questions as well?
Yes, that's gonna happen next.
Sure, okay.
All right, seeing no one else is on the phone. Okay, now we'll go to the PB question. We have one question from Eric. There's been proposals in each of the past 2 years to raise membership dues. What is your view on the notion of raising the professionals' membership dues? What consideration will be contemplated in deciding what professional members dues? Okay, guys, we gotta avoid the multi-part question, but you can look at the first part. What is your view on the notion of raising the professional membership dues?
Okay, I see Eric asking the tough questions. I'll try to answer all parts though.
Okay.
This definitely has been a conversation that's been in NSBE for a long time, the topic of dues. Um, I'm not a fan of increasing dues just for the sake of increasing it. I obviously want to provide value to our membership. And one of the things I wanted to propose was having combined dues, combine our chapter dues and our national dues. Um, I think there was a suggestion of increasing the dues to $100. Um, I'm on board with that if half of that goes to the chapter, half goes to the organization. Um, I think by doing that, it increases national membership and it also offers more support and resources to the chapters. And it gives our members access to content that they normally may not know about because they are really active at the chapter level. But if they have that one membership due, that gives them access to the whole world of NSBE. I mean, there's a lot of great content our SIGs are providing, and the chapters provide a lot of great content as well. But I'm all for a combined membership due of a fair rate, but not just increasing for the sake of increasing without providing value.
All right, next PB question I have here. What is your strategy to transform member at large members to chapter members?
Um, so we want to try to get our members at large to join their closest chapter. And people don't do that for a variety of reasons. So I would like to engage with those members at large to find out if they don't have a local chapter that they can join, would they like starting one? And two, if they do have a local chapter and they're just not really feeling it, how can we get them re-engaged and what can we do to improve the health of that chapter?
All right, this is from a regional PB member. As referring to your conversation about engaging seniors and graduate students, what does that look like as a plan implemented across the society in the different regions, and to have it happen?
So I would put that on the chapters to decide when to engage. We have events at the end of the year, the graduating student seniors reception, but I think that engagement with the chapter should start way before then, probably the middle of the year after the students have gotten established and gotten into their curriculums. But yeah, it's never too early to start engaging with the seniors and providing them mentorship and letting them see the face of the professionals and getting comfortable. So I wouldn't say I would have a plan rolled out per se, but more so guidance for the chapters to engage early and often.
Okay. Okay, right now the collegiate membership is declining at an alarming rate. How can the PEB membership zone help mitigate this?
That's a great question. And I think there's a lot of factors that cause that. The virtual environment, the pandemic decreased a lot of collegiate enrollment or memberships. But on the flip side, it increased professional memberships, which which makes me believe that people with hardworking jobs like staying at home and not having to go out to meetings after work when you're tired. But I think once things transition back to in person, there will be an increase in collegiate memberships. Obviously, they like that in-person engagement. They like being able to travel to conventions. And we got to take advantage of our virtual platforms and create more engaging interactions, talk shows, competitions, things that the students like to do that are fun, IG versus battles, um, to let them know that NSBE is a professional organization, but it's still fun, it's still family, and there's still benefit, even though we're virtual right now.
Okay, any other PEB members or regional PEB members like to ask a question? Okay, we got two more PEB questions. Okay. What do you see as your ultimate duty as a membership chair?
Well, first of all, to make sure we have active chapters and active members. Second of all, make sure we're providing value to those members in those chapters. Working with the other zones to make sure we're developing those members in all phases: leadership, professional, technical, and as well as chapter development. To do that, I had envisioned a platform to where we can provide on-demand training for our chapter leaders, and our six can use that as a platform to provide certifications to our members, which will also increase a revenue stream for the organization. And that goes back to my, I'm not sure if you guys can hear it in the video, the audio is kind of bad, but the seamless membership experience, having one place that a member can go to get all the benefits of NSBE. And we don't want to send them to one site to go be a chapter member and send them to another site to go be a national member, because chances are they're not going to go to both sites. So if we make that seamless, easy, I think it would increase chapter membership as well as national membership. So that's my one of my goals this year.
All right. Will you share with us your personal value proposition for why you are a NSBE professional?
My personal value proposition. So, I think it's my personal responsibility to give back, because NSBE has given me quite a bit. My first job out of college was because of a NSBE member. A good friend of mine who was the president of the my collegiate chapter at A&M. So I feel it's my responsibility to give back. But as far as value, I find value in being able to give back and mold the future STEM leaders of the world. And I understand that values for professionals are a little different from values as a collegiate student. We want to see more bang for your buck. And I do want to make sure that we show that to the professional members, whether that be discounts, more certifications. We had a program that was offered last year with AWS Cloud Practitioner certification. It was a challenge, but it gave members an opportunity to get free certification. So if we can have more opportunities like that, I think it would add more to that value proposition. But that's just my personal opinion.
Thank you. Last question. Okay, how will you interact with the director of membership at WSQ regarding membership issues and functional operations of our membership database portal?
We'd have to have a close relationship. So another thing that I wanted to have insight on was the new membership system. So a lot of the things that many of the things I wanted to have impact on have already had decisions being made on it right now. And one of those was the membership system. I want our chapter leaders to have access to be able to run reports and get data quickly on their members. So if we can come up with a process to provide that information, so we're not depending on one or two people to provide that information, creating delays. I'm going to try my best to work with the headquarters to see how we can best achieve that.
All right, thank you very much. The time has expired. You do have 1 minute to wrap up your Q&A. and to give us the opportunity to see why you want to serve in this role. So you have 1 minute.
So this virtual environment has actually energized me to do a lot more with NSBE, and I see an opportunity for us to increase membership, to re-engage members, to grow the organization, to add more streams of revenue. And we really got to start with focusing on the members. We got to understand what is really important to the members. We got to provide value. And we need to make NSBE sexy outside of NSBE. One of the things I was proud of when I was a chapter officer in DC was I engaged with outside organizations, and we became a common name in the DC area. What's that engineering organization? Because they do a lot of good stuff. We want to go be a part of their activities. So I want NSBE to be that common household name outside of NSBE circles. And I want everybody to get re-engaged and re-energized and be excited to carry out the mission, to feel like they're getting something from this membership that they're paying money for. And hopefully I can do that with the help of all the members that are on this call and all the members who will hopefully listen to this playback later. And thank you for your time, Kwame. Thank you to the officers and the delegates and the chapter members.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for all those who asked questions. And thank you for all the attendees. We're going to go into wrap up and talk about what the next steps are. All right. We have another Q&A session for our chair-elect candidate. Please make sure all the delegates, members sign in and check in so they can actually attend that call as well. All right. Brother Teachy, is the link the same or will a separate link be sent out? I believe the link is the same. Could you confirm? Townsend?
Yeah, give me one moment just to verify, guys.
Okay.
Well, while you're doing it, everybody, did you get a Zoom link sent to your account? It will be in Zoom, so you should have a Zoom link.
All right. Remember, this will be a Zoom meeting. I do apologize that the calendar invite had a Google Meet link in it. That is not the meeting. The registration to get the Zoom link, it will be in the body of the calendar invite. The calendar invite was where you have to pre-register for the meeting to ensure security. In our current environment, we have to make sure we screen and limit access to our Zoom environment. So please bear with us as we go through the registration process. All the delegates, please make sure you check in for your chapters. You only have to check in once so we can verify that your email account is able to receive and successfully vote on the ballot. And each chapter delegate, each chapter, please make sure your delegates checked in and making sure we confirm each of the delegate members. If your chapter only has one appointed or assigned delegate by the 26th, that's fine. They will be able to vote twice. We'll confirm all those who are only the single delegate for the chapters, and there'll be instructions in the ballot on how to vote twice. And we'll set that up for you. So please bear in mind and please follow the instructions as given, and please pay attention to the next steps. All right. Like I said before, tomorrow will be the second part of our Q&A, and that'll just be for our chair-elect candidate. The time frame for that will be a 30-minute Q&A for the next potential chair and chair-elect candidate. Please come with your questions ready to ask for the next leader of our board. After that Q&A, the ballot will be sent out at 11:59 that night. There will be a 24-hour window for that ballot for the delegates to vote. Remember, only the delegates for the active chapters who were verified as of March 26th will be able to vote. Only those who are verified have received the check-ins, and I have received the emails thus far from me, the calendar invites as well. So please make sure you check in and making sure you are represented. Those who are not checked in or those who have not listed as active, you can still take part in the Q&A. We invite you to take part in the Q&A as a paid NSBE member, regardless of whether your chapter is active or not. We do want to make sure you take part. All right. Once you receive your ballot, that ballots will be sent out at 11:59 tomorrow night. Please make sure you coordinate with your chapters to determine which way you should vote. Even if the candidate is by themselves, doesn't mean that you can just they automatically get it. We still need a vote from our membership. So please read the candidate packet. Please make sure you read the candidate packet to see what they plan to do as the future leaders of the board. All
Hey,
right.
Kwame, before you go on, I just want to confirm that the Zoom link is the same, but I will resend out the link to everybody that's registered so far. So just to bring it back to the top of your email chains, I am going to resend the link.
All right. Thank you very much. At the beginning of the session, I did send the link out for all the chapters to check in. For those chapters, those chapter delegates who have not checked in yet, I will send that link out again for you to check in. Remember, the check-in is not the ballot. The check-in is just to confirm your email address is working and you are aware that you are the assigned delegate for your chapter. It is required all the chapter delegates to vote on behalf of your chapter. So please make sure you communicate with your chapter officers to determine which way to vote, either yes or no or write-in. Please pay attention and remember each chapter is entitled to 2 votes, 1 vote per delegate, at least 2 delegates per chapter. If you only have 1 delegate, you will have the opportunity to vote twice. Please follow all assigned instructions. All right. And tomorrow we'll pick up at 8:30. All the delegates, please make sure you come in early at 8 o'clock to check in and make sure we have roll call and make sure we cover any chapters that have not checked in yet. And again, I say if your chapter did not get the opportunity to be checked in or you're not listed as active at this point, please take part in the Q&A. We look forward to your feedback and your questions. Thank you all for your patience and thank you all for your time. This concludes today's presentation. Until tomorrow, we will see you then. All right. Do you have anybody have any additional questions? You can ask, you can stay on and ask the questions. Townsend, you can actually end the recording at this point. Thank you very much.